We'll just start the meeting. You're hereby summoned to attend the monthly meeting of the Health and Community Committee, which will be a hybrid meeting conducted remotely via WebEx and physically in the Council Chamber, Guildhall, Derry, on Thursday the 12th of March 2026 at 4 p.m. So move on just to the attendance. So Alderman Cook.
Online, Karen.
Alderman McMorris.
Apologies.
Alderman Montgomery.
Here, Karen.
Councillor Lillian Barr. Councillor Raymond Barr.
Online, Karen.
Councillor Boggs. Councillor Clark.
And Shaw.
Councillor Devine.
Shaw.
Councillor Duffy is running late from a previous meeting. Councillor Hutton.
And Shaw.
Councillor McDade. Councillor McGowan. Councillor O'Farrell.
Erlina.
And Councillor Cheney.
Here.
Thank you, members. And sorry, just to note, Councillor Boggs, we've noted your online presence as well.
Apologies for being late.
Thank you, Karen. I'll read the broadcasting statement. I would like to remind everyone physically present at this meeting or in attendance remotely that this meeting will be broadcast live to the internet and will be capable of repeated viewing. This broadcast may be terminated or suspended in accordance with our protocol. Due to your attendance at this meeting, you are consenting to being filmed and to the use and storage of those images for broadcasting or training purposes and for the purpose of keeping historical records and making those records available to the public. Members and approved speakers are reminded to only have their mics and cameras on while speaking at the meeting and to use the chat facility to highlight to speak. A copy of the Council privacy notice may be found on the Council website. So, members, declarations of interest. Alderman Montgomery.
Thank you, Chair. It's just an agenda item 13. I am a registered childminder.
Thank you, Alderman Montgomery. Any other members declaring an interest? We can do it as we go along as well if something crops up.
Chair.
Alderman Cook.
Just on agenda item 17. Catherine Cook's a coordinator for Women's Information Network, and she is my mother, and also just a declaration that I am a member of FUND as well.
Thank you, Alderman Cook. So, members, the first item on the agenda is a deputation, but before we move to that, there's something that I just want to raise with everybody. We have Paula here on the panel who has been taking our minutes and notes throughout the course of my term here on Derry City and Strabane District Council, and she will be, this is her last meeting with Health and Community. She's actually leaving in the next hour, and that is why I wanted to bring this, because I didn't want her sneaking out of here thinking she was getting away with it because we have a deputation. But Paula, personally from me, I want to say a massive thank you for all your hard work. It has been an absolute pleasure working with you. Nothing was a bother to you. Anything we needed to know, anything that we needed to do, you always were there to advise us and ensure we had our proposals on screen before everybody could see them. But just for me and on behalf of our party, a massive thank you, Paula. And this is the next brilliant step in your life, retirement. And I think it makes everybody younger, I think. So you look young as it is, so God knows what you'll be looking like in a couple of months' time. But Paula, enjoy every minute. You really, really do deserve it. And a massive thank you. Thank you. So, members, we will move on to, Councillor Tierney.
Thank you, Chair. And I think it's right that you brought it forward. I've already technically done this at Governance and Strategic Planning because Paula also does the minutes in the committee clerk there as well. But again, Paula, thank you for all of your hard work and for, as the Chair says, keeping us on the right track. I genuinely hope that you enjoy your retirement and that you're looking forward. It would have been better if it had been nicer weather out there. They started off in a good way. But on behalf of the SDLP group on this committee and on this council, we wish you all the best in your retirement. And we also welcome Alex to the committee as well, taking on the role. Now we will try to allow you to bed in gently. And we can't promise that will be the way it will always be. But best of luck to you, Alex, in your new role. Thank you, Chair.
Councillor Boggs online.
Chair, mine was under a declaration of interest, but given that I'm not in the chamber and that I won't get to see Paula, can I just also concur with your remarks in relation to her retirement and wish you all the very, very best, Paula, and I will declare an interest, Chair, under item number 29, as I have been involved in conversations with the Strabane Neighbourhood Renewal Local Growth Partnership in relation to that item.
Thank you, Councillor Boggs, and Councillor Barr sends his best wishes online, Paula, as well. Thank you very much. So, members, we will move on to the deputation. So today in the chamber we have Ireland Twigs, who is the programme manager of Cooperation Ireland. And in attendance with Ireland, there is the working group members, Jackie Moran, Seamus Mallah, Erwin Thompson, Patricia Poole and Denise O'Donnell. So we are delighted to have you all here in the chamber today. It's actually a welcome back to Ireland because you were here before, giving us a rundown on the Voice Matters project. So we're delighted to have you here, hear how it's all going. And the three working group members on the floor, feel free to put your hand up to speak as well. And you can use the mic facility to do that. Is that okay? So we give 10 minutes for the presentation and then we open the floor to the members for questions. So thank you and go ahead.
Hi, everyone. It's lovely to be back. Thanks so much for taking the time to have us. To reintroduce myself, my name is Ireland Twigs. I'm the program manager on the Voice Matters project, and I'm here with my lovely working group today. And so I just wanted to talk about a little bit through how the program has evolved, where we're at, and how we hope to collaborate with Council in the future. Next slide. To start off, I'm going to have Erwin just read a kind of the opening line of what we think Voice Matters is.
Voice Matters is a community resilience initiative that uplifts the voices of citizens, showing that change is possible through citizen-led action.
Just to give a bit of background again, so Voice Matters is going into its 5th and final iteration this year. We found that we've kind of evolved the process. We're writing up a case study as well on the 5 years of the project, what we've learned, how we've evolved the process, and I'll talk a little bit about that later. But essentially, Voice Matters is a deliberative democracy initiative that puts citizens at the front line of decision making. So we encompass traditional methods of deliberative democracy, such as sortition. So we sent out 10,500 invitations to Derry City and the surrounding areas where residents are asked to kind of confirm to the pool, and we select a demographically representative cohort to join us. Each year the topic has evolved. So we did year 1 mental health, then deliberative processes, young people, safety, and this year it will be health and well-being. And part of that is it happens over, we do now 3 weekends, and it's kind of 4 days. So we start with the skills workshop, which is a critical thinking kind of emotional regulation session. We talk about how to use dialogue as a tool. And then we have the 3 days of the panel, and that's split up into learning, dialogue, and deliberation. And part of that is we bring in what we call subject matter experts to kind of present on a range of topics to kind of encourage participants to think about the theme. And then we do things like prioritization, ranking. We talk about money. We ask, what is feasible? What does the community need urgently? So that these recommendations aren't just wish lists, but they're grounded in actual feasible resources and what they feel the community needs the most. We've seen a lot of positive come out of this and how dialogue can be used as a tool, how we can channel civic engagement and uplift those who might not traditionally, take part in consultations or be a part of decision making. Some of what we did last year. So last year was our biggest year to date where we made the most changes. So this was the first time we did a fully cross-community panel, including a participant who did not speak English. So we had a translator on site who was able to work with her. We used AI for the first time. So we are actually one of the first processes in the world, some of the first processes in the world that are using AI facilitated kind of to deliberation with us. So essentially, this helps us track our insights. We're able to transcribe conversations, see how it's evolving over the 3 days, and really kind of track those recommendations much more than we were doing when it was just flip charts, which are still a great way, but we were just losing a lot of data and we didn't have a lot of time. Additionally, we had the skills workshop for the first time, so we found that really beneficial. And we're also one of the first processes that is using this kind of model of how we can prep participants before going in to give them the tools to fully participate. Additionally, for the first time, we engaged with a wide number of stakeholders, including the PSNI, which was really great to have a part of the panel and have that interaction directly with citizens. Next slide. This is just kind of emphasizing some of the ways that we've done it a bit differently, both in our 5-year iteration and kind of on a global scale, how we're trying to change our process. And if you hit to the next slide. Part of the AI that we use, so we use a Dutch company called DimBrain who has been assisting with us. And so part of the topic of safety and inclusion this year, we asked participants to talk in small groups about different areas of the city, you know, in 10 years time, 15 years time, what they would like to see kind of safety and inclusive initiatives look like. So the AI software was enabled to generate this into images here in Derry City so that participants could see what that could look like. Some notable included water taxis by our working group member, Jackie, kind of street lights, different initiatives for nightlife, ways to uplift the water side. So it was really great to be able to put those into actions and generate different mediums for our participants to engage with policy. Next slide. On that, I'm going to hand that over back over to Erwin to just briefly read through what our top 3 recommendations were that came out of last year's panel.
Our number 1, developing more integrated schools. Focus on increasing integrated education from nursery level upwards. It was noted currently there's only 1 integrated school in the city, and this was considered to be insufficient. Our aim is to break down community divisions from an early age. 2, increase services for mental health and addiction. Focus on improving access to and availability of mental health services. Emphasis on both prevention and treatment, and recognition that mental health and addiction issues are often interconnected. 3, building new mixed social housing with no divisive symbols or flags. Focus on creating integrated housing communities without sectarian markers, including having citizens sign a charter, an agreement about not displaying divisive symbols. Creating more shared living spaces where people from different backgrounds can live together.
Also briefly, we have Patricia, who is going to share a testimony about her experience being part of the Working Voice Matters initiative last year and carrying on in the working group.
On the 5th of April 2025, I had the privilege of attending the Voice Matters event hosted by Cooperation Ireland. This took place in Columns Hall. The days were filled with powerful conversations. We had different groups, each one putting light on the most important issues: mental health, housing, unemployment, poverty, integrated education, LGBTQ, the list goes on. So what did I learn? Change starts with us. It begins in rooms where people come together, not just to speak, but to listen. What did I gain from this experience was more than knowledge. It was connection to hear stories. Each topic was approached with compassion, reminding me that these challenges are not isolated. The event gave me an understanding of the importance of inclusive dialogue. Over the 3 days, I left feeling inspired to not only continue learning, but to follow through in Voice Matters. So here I am today, 11 months later, speaking to you all. I would like to think we all want the same for our beautiful city of Derry, Londonderry. And finally, I had a wee quote that stayed with me. When we come together, we can shape a future that reflects the best of who we are. Thank you.
And just to close, so we'll be having our last iteration of Voice Matters this April. So the dates are April 11th, 12th, and 19th at St. Colum's Hall. And this year's topic is what would help people across Derry, Londonderry live healthier, better lives. And as part of our presentation today, we continue to just ask that council support us, engage with us, and continue to consider this model as a supportive consultation method for engaging citizens and looking at policy. So thank you all.
Thank you very much, Ireland. And thanks to Patricia and Irwin as well for presenting. It sounds like a massive piece of work that you've had undertaken. So it's great to see it all published, and hopefully we will get a wee scoot to these next events in April. Keep you all informed. So we'll open it to the floor now. And the first indicated speaker is Councillor Clark. Go ahead, Amanda.
Thank you, Aisling. Thank you to Ireland and our fantastic working group. This is just, it sounds like a brilliant project altogether, and we're really impressed by what you have managed to deliver across 2025. You can't go wrong with cross-community work at all. It should always be welcomed. But what I'm really inspired by, and as the rest of my team, is the Citizens' Assembly. That's a fantastic way to go forward. It's a great way for ordinary people on the ground to get their voices across, to get a grasp of the issues that are happening in and around us. And sometimes, you know, when you're working as a councillor, a lot of people come to you and say that they don't feel that their voices are being heard. So it's good that you have the opportunity to come to a group like that and then present the council or, you know, government departments or whatever. So that's really, really, really good, because everybody's voice matters. Doesn't matter who you are, what you are, your voice matters, and that's it. And the three issues that have come out of it, I think, you know, developing integrated schools, I would be a big fan of that, because if we had more integrated schools, we would have less of number three, you know, the tribalism with symbols and flags and things like that. But I also like the idea of residents signing a charter. It's a gentle way to reinforce that, you know, not everybody wants flags and symbols hanging off lampposts. So that's a really, really nice initiative. Unfortunately, with mental health, it is what it is at the minute. Like funding for the health service and things like that. I worked in mental health myself before I came on to council, and I know the issues that are there. But we can all work together and keep talking the way these working groups are doing, and how power to the people, because that's what matters. So thank you.
Thank you, Amanda. Councillor McDade.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Erin, for coming in, and Patricia and Irwin too. It was really nice to hear from all three of you. I suppose I'll keep it brief. I agree with everything that Amanda's already just said. It's brilliant to see everything that you have been doing, and it's mad to think it's 5 years. I remember the first year getting an email about it. I wasn't in council then. I just remember seeing it somewhere and registering to look about information. Because I agree. I think that normal people on the street don't feel that they get their voice heard enough, no matter how many times you knock on doors of politicians, doctors, nurses. It's quite often we don't feel heard. So I think that giving people that platform and that opportunity to come together, because chances are if there's 10 people sitting around a table, at least 9 of them are all having the same issues. And sometimes we can feel isolated and think, I'm the only one worried about this, I'm the only one thinking about this. So even getting together and feeling that kind of camaraderie is really important as well. And then taking it a step further and having the actions plan and reporting to people like us, and then, like you say, like the government as well, is really important, because if you think about mental health, is always a prime example, and addictions here is just, it's such a big issue, and I feel sometimes like we're always saying it and we're never getting anywhere, but we need to keep saying it because it's not going anywhere. It's only getting worse. So we have to continue to raise our voices. So we need to do it from council. You need to be doing it. Everybody needs to be doing it, because the more that messaging is getting across, hopefully somebody will listen and we'll get something from it. But good luck in April in the events in April. Just one question, do you register for those, or are people already registered? Are you looking for more people to engage with, or have you got your kind of numbers already? That's it. But thank you very much for coming on.
We have our selected participants for next year, or for this April, but we're still looking for speakers. In addition, I'll circulate an Eventbrite link. People are able to come and observe and see the process, as well as it'll be live streamed. So we always encourage anyone to come and observe, see the process, have lunch, and speak. So that'll go out shortly.
Thank you. And the next indicated speaker is Alderman Montgomery.
Thank you, Chair, for letting me in, and I just want to thank you for coming along today and for your presentation. It was just around where you talk about developing more integrated skills, and it just was a quick question to ask how you ensure the parental choice in education is respected. As a mother of three, I chose not to send my children to integrated education, but they do cross community. I'm just more interested to hear how you would deal with that. Thanks.
Yeah, so in our report, and I'd be happy to kind of go through some of the data that we have, how that was kind of condensed as the first recommendation, and kind of where that all came out. These were recommendations that evolved. They weren't necessarily, completely maybe all of those elements thought of. So I'm happy to look through that and even look back through the data and see if that did come up any table discussions. But these recommendations are just kind of what emerged from the 3 days from the 30 participants on the topic of safety and inclusivity. And they felt that that was the #1 recommendation to that. I think the details of how that could be implemented or looked at, that's something we would hope to engage with council and use some of that data to look at.
Thank you. And the final indicated speaker is Alderman Cook online.
Thanks, Chair, for letting me in, and thanks to the members of the Voice Matters Initiative Working Group and to Ireland as well. And just on behalf of the DUP, I would like to extend our sincere thanks for your presentation today. I very much appreciated the time that you took to share your work with us and to outline the progress of this important initiative. Like previous councillors have already mentioned, your approach, which encourages open dialogue between communities and public authorities, is an important way of helping to build that trust, understanding and cooperation, and creating spaces where citizens feel heard and where constructive conversations can take place is vital in strengthening relationships and supporting resilient communities. So thanks again for your presentation and for the very important work that you're doing. So keep it up, and we appreciate you taking the time to engage with us today. Thank you.
Thank you. Chelsea, any other indicated speakers at this stage? No. So thank you all very much for coming in today, and I suppose wish you all the best for the sessions that are going to be taking place in April. And I think that it is very constructive, the type of work that's being done through the Voice Matter sessions, and hearing it from the people who are living in grassroots communities is probably the factual evidence that you need in relation to how things can be progressed around all the topics that you discuss. So thank you all very much. Does anybody on the floor want to add anything or give any? No, that's okay, don't worry. But thank you for coming in, and we are looking forward to seeing you again after the sessions this April. So the best of luck and safe home. Thank you. So members, will move on to chairperson's business. So I have a couple of items from myself. and other members have items as well. So the first item that I wanted to chat about was around the integrated menopause hub consultation, which Derry Well Women are leading on. There will be a consultation event at the Everglades on the 26th of March from 10:30 to 1 o'clock. And I would just like to ask Council to promote the registration link on our website, just to get as many women as we can around the table, because if there was to be a menopause hub here, it is to assess the needs of the woman in this city and district and see what type of services that can be brought along through consultation with them, just around, you know, it will be looking at services that women are already accessing. And I suppose that'll include men as well when it comes to the GPs, and maybe women's husbands would like to come along as well, just to give a bit of insight. So it was just to promote that. And while I'm on the vein of women's health, it's also to welcome the news of the new endometriosis clinical nurse, Kate Batchelor, into the Western Trust. So it was announced the other day that she is now in post at Galvin. And I think that going forward, and hopefully for forward planning, this is going to bring a different spin to early diagnosis, research, and obviously as well heighten the quality of care that women that are waiting on a diagnosis of endometriosis are waiting on. So that the second piece was about No Smoking Month. Obviously, March Wednesday was No Smoking Day, and throughout No Smoking Month, council included, Conor Lowe would lead it from council's end. There's a lot of statutory and community and voluntary organisations throughout the city offering smoking cessation clinics, and I just want to say well done to everyone so far. I've been at a few of them myself, and they are very, very busy. And just to say a good luck to anybody that has signed up to a quit date or is thinking about giving up smoking. It's a difficult thing to do, but I think it's really prevalent at the minute that there are those options for nicotine replacement therapy clinics, given the health research that we've most recently been given around young people's attitudes and behaviours, where they are moving on to tobacco from vaping. So just to welcome that this week as well. And then the final one from me is around the new campaign by the Foyle Hospice. So the Foyle Hospice have a Make a Will campaign, where you make a will and pay an acting legal rep £100 to make your will, but that money is donated back in to the Foyle Hospice as part of their fundraising efforts. So I just wanted to ask on behalf of the Foyle Hospice if we could promote that as well. I think it's just a great way of everybody looking after their own affairs, but at the same time, you are donating back into an amazing organisation who need those funds. So thanks everybody for letting me bring those couple of topics up. And the next item on the agenda is Councillor Duffy. Sandra, go ahead.
Cormac Ashling, for letting me in and letting me raise this. We are again raising the issue of ending violence against women and girls. And it's sad that we have to continue to do this and continue to raise our voices. But just this weekend on International Women's Day, we seen another tragedy where another young woman's life was taken in her home, Ellie Flanagan. It's another tragedy, another preventable death, another example of a woman being murdered at the hands of a man that she knew. This week on our local news stations, we will hear 3 women's names. We will hear Ellie Flanagan, who has tragically just died. We will also hear of the death of Chloe Mitchell and Natalie McNally, whose trials are ongoing at the minute. Well, one actually, I think, just collapsed today because the legal people walked away from it. So that's 3 families in the news this week, 3 families facing absolute heartache and pain because of deaths at the hands of violent men. I think that when we talk about ending violence against women and girls, we have to make sure that it's more than lip service, that it is not about ticking boxes or strategies, that it is actually about standing up, using our voices and being heard, and stop apologising for violent men and what they do. They have to be held accountable for what they do, and we all have a duty to make sure that women are safe in their homes, safe in their communities, and safe as they go about their lives. I just think that at this point we have a duty to speak up, but I want to pay tribute tonight, or this evening, to Ellie's family and her friends and her loved ones, because they must be going through absolute hell, and it is another preventable death. And we need to do more to stop burying our women, and that's a simple message. So thank you, Chair, for allowing me to raise it.
No, thank you, Sandra. Councillor McDade, you wanted to come on this?
Thank you. I suppose just to come off the back of what Sandra's just said, thanks for raising it, Sandra. I had raised this at Business and Culture on Tuesday as well, because I do think, and I said on Tuesday, that I'll use my voice every time I can, so I'm going to use it again today. We do need to do more than lip service. We need to do more than talk about it. I'm going between crying with despair, I suppose, and heartbreak for the people that are going through what they're going through. So Ellie's family, Natalie's family, Chloe's family, and everyone's families because unfortunately Ellie's the 29th person since 2020, the 29th woman to die in circumstances like this. And we do need to do more. I'm going between crying and being heartbroken to being so angry that if the man was standing in front of me now, I would probably end up in prison, because this cannot continue. We have to do more, and I don't know what the answer is, but there has to be something done. And I go back to, we have to work with young boys. We need to make sure that this is anything that puts women in a lower grade than a man needs to be stamped out right now. We need to stop it so that in future generations we are not sitting here still counting these women who have died under such horrific circumstances, because it's not happening to men. This is only happening to women, and it's just not fair. And that's such an understatement, and it feels like such an understatement saying it, but I just feel that it's like we're repeating ourselves. We're back in the same place over and over and over, and it's just unacceptable. And it always highlights about how many people who we probably all know, people who are sitting at home living in absolute fear every single day, waiting for their husband, their boyfriend, whoever it might be, to come home, and then judging their mood depending what way are they going to come in. Are they going to be in good form? Is things going to be okay? Are they going to come in and they're in bad form? So it's going to be all my fault. And there's so many people living in these circumstances every day, and we don't know, because there's not the opportunity for them to come forward, or they're not feeling safe enough to come forward. And I don't know how we fix it, but we have to do something. So I suppose I don't even know what I'm saying now, but I think that I feel helpless, and I think that's the kind of feeling across the country probably as much as anything. But I suppose a shout, Women's Aid is always there, so even just to promote and make sure everyone knows that that's available. And I guess actually on this, I did bring a motion last year around the safe spaces and with training for staff about identifying signs and symptoms of people who maybe are experiencing domestic violence. So I wonder, could I ask for a paper and updating that, just to see what kind of was the training all completed, and is there any further actions that could come from that? Because I do think that we need to be taking more practical steps. So sorry for ranting. All right.
And online, Alderman Cook.
Thanks, Chair, for letting me in. And I also would just like to take a moment to acknowledge the tragic murder of Ellie Flanagan. So my thoughts are with her family and loved ones at this very difficult time. And as Councillor Duffy had alluded to, we do need to speak up and speak out against violence against women and girls. It has to stop. And as Councillor McDade had stated as well, 29 women that have been killed since 2020 is nothing short of shocking. It's heartbreaking, and it does underscore, the urgent need for action to protect women in our communities. So, yeah, we must continue just to work together to challenge this violence, support the victims, and create a society where women and girls can live free from fear. So, thanks very much for letting me in.
Thank you, Chelsea. Alderman Montgomery.
Thank you, Chair, for letting me in. I just want to thank Sandra for bringing this forward, and I do want to say and pay my respects to Ellie and send my thoughts with her family and to all other families that have been dealing with this, because I'm sure every time something like this comes to the forefront, it hits them with a bang. Councillor McDade is right. Like, everybody does feel helpless, and it is something that we need to work on. What we can do, I am not 100% sure, but hopefully we can get this sorted. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Janice. And I suppose when Catherine was speaking just about what could we be doing, I was at 2 events over International Women's Day. One of them was the fun event, Shining the Light in the Guildhall, which was excellent. And it went from lived experience, talking to people how to keep your identity safe online. It was an absolutely brilliant event, very, very informative. And from that event, we then moved to the Legacy Builders event, which was a youth event in the Millennium Forum, which was led by Northwest Youth Services. And it was all about domestic violence, coercive control, but it took a really, really good look at masculinity. What does masculinity look like for our young people? So I think because ending violence against women and girls is within the programme for government, all of these events are allowed to happen through funding that's coming down through the Executive Office. So I think it's about us ensuring that that money keeps coming and ensuring that these services within our community, and one of them being, you know, there's a lot of domestic violence and domestic abuse awareness training within the community at the minute, where community and voluntary sector groups are given either workers or residents just a wee insight into what a healthy relationship looks like, right down to what an unhealthy relationship looks like. So I do understand your frustration, Catherine, and it's so sad. You know, you look at the Maguire's Bridge incident and what the people of Enniskillen are going through, having 2, 3 deaths like that on their doorstep. But I just think we just have to keep ensuring that the money's coming down so that we can get these projects off the ground, because education is key and early intervention is key as well. So thank you all very much. And is that everybody on that topic? Yeah. So we'll move on to the next item on chairperson's business, which is Councillor Paul Boggs online.
Good Chair, I am content to park mine for the time being. I've just received some information in relation to it in the last couple of months, so I'm happy to leave it as is at the time being and can bring it back up at a further meeting if needs be. Thanks.
No problem, Councillor Boggs. And then the final item is Councillor Tierney.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, mine's hope will be pretty straightforward. The Northern Ireland Football Fund grassroots when it was launched, the application process was launched a few weeks ago. I have got some concerns around it and the impact that it can have for clubs here. Particularly, there are a number of stipulations. If clubs want to apply themselves, you have to either own your own ground, for example, or be in a long-term lease of a ground. That rules a majority, an overwhelming majority of clubs across this district out of applying for that. If clubs were interested and wanted to look at taking out a long-term lease, the time frame around the application process doesn't allow for that, because I think it's the 15th of April by the time that closes. And I am aware that this is anticipated to be the first tranche of this money. The other way, there's also an opportunity for councils to apply under that fund as well. I would be interested to find out if council are planning to make an application, which I hope they are. And if they are, how will that be determined in terms of supporting a particular club? Because I'm aware of a number of clubs across the district who have got aspirations to have their own ground. And how would we, you know, support one over the other? Or for want of a better word, how will that look? Do council have plans? Are those conversations happening? And what's it going to look like? Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks, Chair. In answer to your last question, Councillor Tierney, yeah, there have been discussions. It's only been released programme, the one that councils can apply for, and the criteria. So I don't have the answer how how we pick one above the other at the minute. We are scoping out a number of sites and seeing what that means in terms of the criteria, but also, you know, is it deliverable within that time period? You know, so it's something we've done early scoping on, but over the course of the next week or so, we're going to have to have more detailed thought around it and then engage with members in some way, be it through some members briefing around the info that we have to date through the fund and through the sites and deliverability and being shovel ready and all of that. So it's still very early stages. We would hope that we would be able to submit something, but again, it's down to deliverability and what will meet the criteria in terms of, and if there's a number of sites that applies to, then ultimately it'll be a decision for this committee and the council. Thanks, Chair.
Alderman Hussey.
Thank you, Chair. I would take a slightly different view than Councillor Turney. I would welcome the fact that, you know, it's clubs who have their own facilities, because those are clubs who have shown a commitment and ambition for the development of their clubs. Admittedly, I mean, my own club started out on a council pitch, but they then pushed forward to develop their own facilities. So there's that concern that I have. If you allow a club that doesn't own its own ground, I've seen it quite often, clubs at that junior level come and go, you know, and if they don't have that commitment with their own facilities, etc., and developing their clubs. But there are those, I will admit, who utilise council facilities but have a commitment to grow their clubs, etc. And in that case, I believe that the way forward should be actually a partnership. As you rightly pointed out, councils can go into this scheme. So if council were to enter into a partnership agreement with clubs, I know of one in my own area who have a long-term lease from council on their facility, and they could possibly attain, although it's a council ground, but they have a long-term single club lease on that particular facility. So there are means whereby it can be done, and as I suppose as Councillor Turney is asking and you're suggesting, that council look at how they can assist clubs to go forward if there are clubs who are utilising council facilities who wish to advance, because it can be advantageous to both. Because obviously what you do is improve the facility, which is a council facility, but at the same time give the club the opportunity to develop. Thank you.
Councillor Tierney, you wanted to come back in there?
Yes, thank you, Chair. And while I agree with most of what Alderman Hussey has said, it sounded to me at the beginning as if the club don't own their own ground. They haven't shown commitment and dedication, and that's not the case. There are clubs here which have been around a long time, who it is virtually almost impossible for them to take that leap to own their own ground. Doesn't mean that they haven't shown commitment or dedication to their community, to their players, to their supporters. But they need that helping hand, and that's what I'm looking for. How do we get there? Barry's saying that it may become, you know, if there's a number of sites, it may become a decision for this committee. My understanding is that the deadline for applications is the 15th of April. That's going to be very tight for this committee to get together and make a decision. Unless it is longer for councils, I'm not sure. But from what I've seen publicised, it's the 15th of April. But if a club who are looking now at applying themselves, I get that council can put on their own application in partnership with a club, and I support what Alderman Hussey is saying around that. But if a club is looking to go forward now themselves, what support can officers offer them to try and get them over that line? Because I welcome the fund, absolutely. But I think the short time frame, the stipulations around long-term lease and owning your own ground, unfortunately, I think we're going to see lots of clubs in the Northwest punished again by the Northern Ireland Football Fund. And that's something that we need to get our heads around pretty quickly. Thank you.
Through yourself, Chair, in answer to both questions, it's my understanding that the council application is a later date than the 15th of April. And back to Alderman Hussey's point around council working with clubs at council sites as such, that time frame, even though it's a bit later than the club one, is problematic as well, because invariably at all our sites, there's lots of clubs that use them. Some may use for a higher grade of football. So there's a whole quality implications, members, with regards to screening, etc., that just wouldn't allow within that particular time frame. But back to the club application, the one the 15th, officers are available and willing to provide whatever advice and expertise we have around that, in terms of an application. But again, go back to the same point, a lot of it's around, having security of tenure and that, and unless there are projects nearly ready made that we've been working with clubs for a period of time around getting that over the line, I don't see, well, we're not going to be able to work in that time frame in a month's time to have that all addressed. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Barry. Okay. So, members, we'll move on to agenda item 7, matters arising from the open minutes of the Health and Community Committee held on Thursday, the 12th of February 2026. Any matters arising? Councillor Clark.
Sorry, I'm up. I can't reach over. Hold on a second. It's just HC2 3226, and it's just in relation to an update on the SCAG task force meeting that was, I think it was supposed to be the 10th of March. Is there any updates on it, please?
Yes, members, just to advise, we did have an internal meeting involving the Director of Environment Regeneration, 2 planning officers, including our lead planning officer, Suzanne McCracken, and 3 representatives of the SCAG task force. So we've started to plot out a series of engagements that need to happen with a view to engaging some external expertise that is going to be facilitated through Developing Healthy Communities links with the professor in Cork, with a view that there will be a wider engagement probably around the end of May, to bring other lead stakeholders into the room. So I think in the meantime, there's a launch in Stormont of a sustainable development type building. I think so there's hope to learn from that as well as part of that deliberation. So we've set a preliminary date to touch base to make sure that organisationally we're moving forward to be ready to have a wider forum. And we did discuss the opportunity for elected members to be involved, for education to be involved, youth services, housing executive, and how we could reach out and we could influence stakeholders, for example, within the higher sort of management levels of DFC. As you know, Gronulong from the Housing Executive is now part of DFC, and that would be one of the routes that we would like to explore.
Go ahead, Amanda.
That's great. Thanks, Karen. I was talking to a few people on the ground over the past few days before your meeting, and they were concerned that maybe, the users of the hubs and things would be left out of it. So we're hoping that, the people who are actually on the ground's voices are going to be heard at these meetings.
Yes, that's the intention, to plan for the meeting at the last week of May.
Thank you, Karen. No other matters arising? Nope. So we'll move on to agenda item 8. Proposed response to the UK Government consultation on single construction regulator prospectus, and that's Seamus.
Thanks, Chair. Members, this consultation follows the tragedy at Grenfell Tower and the subsequent inquiry. The Ministry of Housing, Communities and Local Government are seeking views on the proposal to establish a single construction regulator for the UK construction sector. And this was the first recommendation following the inquiry. Some of the proposals include issuing test certificates of all construction products, and it's within the consultation response. You'll see in Appendix 2, council officers are supportive of creating a new regulatory body to improve safety within the construction sector, and it's important that they deal with market surveillance and enforcement activities. So members, the draft response outlined in Appendix 2, and we're seeking your approval.
Thank you, Seamus. Councillor McDade.
Thank you, Chair, and thanks, Seamus. I think there's a lot of detail in the response. And from the SLP perspective, we're happy to propose it and support it. Anything we can do to ensure stricter kind of regulations around safety is so important, you know. So I think if we need to feed into all these kind of consultation processes and give any feedback that we can. So no, happy to support, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Catherine. Councillor Duffy.
Yeah, Seamus, thank you for the report and thank you for the response to the consultation. We're happy to second. We know the importance of these regulations. We have heard from the Grenfell families and the tragedies that they have endured as a result of the cladding that was placed around their buildings, and we need to do everything that we can to prevent further tragedies. So happy to second the proposal.
Alderman Cook online.
Thanks, Chair. I was coming on to second, but I also just want to welcome the consultation and would like to thank the council officers for their hard work in preparing it. I do also think that it's important for our council to take this opportunity to contribute to the consultation process and ensure that the voice and experiences of local government are reflected in the development of the future framework. So I'm happy to support the response and the recommendations set out in front of us today.
Great, thank you, Chelsea. Bye, Paula. Enjoy. So my glasses are falling off me today, they're all broke. Members, we're on to agenda item 9, and that's a consultation on the expanding access to naloxone supply and emergency use, and that is Seamus again.
Members, consultation response has been submitted in relation to this document prior to the 9th of March. And I'll not go through the report in detail, but the Department of Health and Social Care have issued it in relation to expand access to naloxone. And this is to help prevent deaths due to an opiate overdose. So the proposals include change in legislation to allow hospitals and outreach centres to supply naloxone without a prescription, and create publicly accessible emergency naloxone boxes similar to DFibs. And so the response is outlined in Appendix 1, and members are asked to approve retrospectively. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Seamus. Councillor Duffy.
Thank you, Chair, and Seamus, thank you for the report and again the consultation response. I do really welcome this consultation response. It is something that I have been calling for quite some time in terms of the expanded access to naloxone, as it does absolutely save lives. I have seen its use in the community. I have seen it save lives, and I just think that it needs to be expanded, and I have been asking for it for so long and asking for police themselves to have access to it, because often they're the first people on the scene where there is an opiate overdose before even the ambulance service gets there. And what they could do with naloxone would save the life of the person that's in front of them. So I welcome the consultation response and look forward to it being rolled out. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Sandra. Councillor Tierney.
Thank you, Chair, and I'm happy to second the recommendation. Whilst I don't know a whole lot about it, I did see it in use one evening. And before it was used, I was absolutely terrified. But it did exactly what it said on the tin and saved that person's life. So absolutely, we should be supporting this because, as Sandra has said, that's what it's there for. And without it, who knows where those people will be. So we should be. Thank you.
No, thank you, Brian. Alderman Hussey.
Not a member of committee, Chair, and thanks for the opportunity just to endorse the comments that have gone before and to welcome anything which will speed access, because it's the immediate intervention that is important in this particular aspect, and that's what we're seeing here, the availability to enable that immediate access for ASAP access.
Thank you, Alderman Hussey. Alderman Cook online.
Thanks, Chair. On behalf of the DUP, I also welcome the staff response. I concur with previous speakers, and I just wanted to note as well that you know, the lock boxes, I think is a great plan. You know, that in an emergency the medication can be quickly accessed and used to save a life. So yeah, I'm happy to support, and thanks for letting me in.
Thank you, Chelsea. And I think it's, you know, it's of paramount importance that these are available within our communities, the amount of people that require naloxone, Seamus. So just to ensure that, you know, whenever we get defib boxes put about the community, training comes off the back of that, and naloxone training is available. So it's just to ensure that if these aids are going to be within our communities, that the training is coming with it as well for people, general public, and also anybody that is within the vicinity of it. So no, it's great to see this. So agenda item 10 is the Department for Communities consultation on new notice to quit periods for the private rented sector, and that's you again, Seamus.
Thanks, Chair and members. The Department for Communities consultation relates to extending notice to quit periods for private rented sector. So the proposals include longer notice to quit periods that landlords must give tenants, and that ranges between 8 weeks and 7 months, depending on the tenancy period. And also it includes special case notice periods between 2 weeks and 4 months, and that's to ensure fair balance between tenant protection and landlord rights. And members, the recommendations is the consultation response outlined in Appendix 2 is approved. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks very much, Seamus. Councillor Duffy.
Thank you, Chair, and again, thank you, Seamus. You're doing all the heavy lifting today. No, I just like to thank you for the response to this consultation as well, and welcome it. As people know, I work in the homeless sector, dealing with these issues on both sides in terms of landlords and tenants, and there can be problematic landlords and there can be problematic tenants. There absolutely can, but we need to make sure that we have the absolute best protections that are in place for our tenants at the minute. We know that there is a housing crisis. We know that particularly here in the city, the cost of buying a home is going through the roof, and we have seen at times landlords initiate notices to quit to sell the property or bring in new tenants at a higher rate. So we want to make sure that that's not something that's happening. But we also know that there are times where there are tenants who are in situ who are causing problems. So we need to have protections there as well. So it's about making sure that we have the best system to deal with all those issues as they present themselves. So no, I welcome the consultation response. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandra. Alderman Cook online.
Thanks, Chair, for letting me in, and on behalf of the DUP, we also support this as well. I'm so happy to second. For many people, the private rented sector is their home, and longer notice periods can make a real difference. It'll give tenants more time to find alternative accommodation, plan ahead, and avoid the stress and disruption that comes with having to move at a very short notice, and especially at a time when many households are already facing pressures around housing and the cost of living. So measures that provide greater stability and security for tenants are important. So I'm happy to support. So thanks for letting me in.
Thank you, Chelsea. Councillor Tierney.
Thank you, Chair. And like the previous speakers, we are also happy to support. This is about protections for everyone who either serves or is a user of the private rented sector. I think that's only to be welcomed. We all could tell horror stories of tenants and landlords and the difficulties that they face. This hopefully will bridge that gap, and that's to be welcomed as far as we're concerned. Thank you.
Thank you. Agenda item 11, members, consultation on solid fuel burning, taking action to reduce fine particulate matter and smoke emissions. And you again, Seamus, you're up again.
Thanks, Chair. Members, I'll go into a wee bit more detail with this one. So DEFRA have issued a consultation in relation to solid fuel burning. It provides an opportunity for stakeholders to influence policies relating to reducing emissions at source. And members, you'll all be aware in terms of particulates from burning solid fuels such as coal, wood, increases the risk of respiratory illness and heart disease. So DEFRA's proposal is for stricter emission limits for stoves, mandatory labelling of appliances and fuels, periodic testing and enforcement powers, all of which are aimed at protecting public health and inform the consumer of various choices. So within this council area, we have a number of smoke control areas in Strabane Town, Castlederrick and Newton Stewart. Council's officers have prepared a draft response which covers proposed emission limits to tackle air pollution and improve public health, the appliances and the fuel labelling, and also relating to the retesting of appliances every 5 to 6 years. So councillors also recognise households, many are in fuel poverty, particularly recently, and may be affected by these measures, and public awareness campaigns would be essential. So the recommendation of members approve the draft consultation response. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you very much, Seamus. Councillor Duffy.
Yeah, thank you, Chair, and Seamus again. And I mean, I do welcome the report, and I do welcome it in terms of climate action and public health, because I think, you know, we talk about climate change and we know that the burning of fossil fuels is contributing to that, but we also know and can see very clearly the effect of burning coal and wood in our communities is having on people's health, and particularly the health of children. And we've seen really built up areas where there's prevalence of asthma and other respiratory illnesses. But again, that fuel poverty piece at the minute, it's just very much to the fore of everybody's minds. We know the price of oil, and we're fearful that people are going to reopen old fires that are actually blocked up at this stage because they can't afford to buy oil, or they're afraid that the oil's going to run out. So there's all those issues that are going on. So a huge piece of this is going to be that educational piece around it. But to support the proposals as they stand and the consultation response, because it is for the greater good. But we do need to do more to address the fuel poverty issue and the education piece around it. But thank you for your response.
Thank you, Sandra. Alderman Hussey.
Thank you, Chair, for the opportunity, and agreeing with Councillor Duffy's contribution. One of the things that I thought Councillor Duffy might have introduced was also the news that we had. The news that we had today at the Northwest Regional Body, where a unit is being established which will cover the island of Ireland with regard to the identification of particulates in the atmosphere, and that is also a welcome development going forward. So thank you.
Thank you, Derek. No other speakers on that item. So agenda item 12, social supermarket action plans for 26-27, and that's Barry.
Thanks, Chair. Members, take the report as read, but the purpose and recommendations to seek your approval of a social supermarket action plan received from Foyle Network Foundation to cover Ballyarnett, Waterside, Moore, Foyleside and Faughan DAs, including approval of £249,166 to the lead partner Foyle Network Foundation. Then this is subject to Council receiving the letter of offer from DFC for 26-27 members, and to seek your approval also of the action plan received from Strabane Community Project to cover Strabane Town, Spurn and Derg DAs, and that's an approval of £150,289 to the lead partner Strabane Community Project, again subject to the letter of offer from DFC. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Barry. Councillor Clark.
Yeah. Thank you, Ashley. Thank you, Barry, for that. And of course, I support that. Back in 2017, when I was in social work, I used to work in family intervention, and a lot of the families on my caseload would have been absolutely lost without the social supermarket. Now, back then, it was literally food that they just provided, but now it has evolved so much with debt, and they were just touching those things back then. So I would be very much so in favour of funding a social supermarket and keeping it going. It's vital. And a lot of families in Derry and across the district would be lost without it. And I can be testament to that. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Amanda, and I agree. It's the wraparound support that they're getting as well within, and that sort of pathway out of poverty, which is at the forefront now in most of those social supermarkets. So thank you, Barry, for that report. Agenda item, Alderman Cook online.
Thanks, Chair, for letting me in. And I welcome the approval of the 2 recommendations as well. And as previously stated, it is the wraparound support that they provide. It's crucial for many individuals and families in our communities. And what makes them, stand out is, excuse me, the support that goes far beyond the food provision. Through their wraparound services, they help provide advice, support pathways that can make a lasting difference in people's lives. So as I say, I'm happy to support. So thanks for letting me in.
Thank you, Chelsea. So members, agenda item 13, the consultation response to the Department of Education's draft executive early learning and childcare strategy, and that's Barry again.
Members, this to seek your approval of the Council response to the Department of Education consultation on the draft early learning and childcare strategy. Just reference to a number of points in the key issues section. Workforce sustainability is an area of concern within the strategy due to a number of factors, including recruitment and retention difficulties, which remain acute in the sector, affecting a range of settings and childminders. In addition, there are broader concerns about pay levels, professional recognition, and the capacity to expand. Also, a decline in registered childminders and concerns about unregistered provision or wider issues require careful policy attention, as the sustainability of registered services is key for system resilience. And members, just for info, the consultation period closes on the 24th of March 2026. So the recommendation, members, you note the content of the report and approve the submission of the consultation response. Thank you.
Thank you, Barry. Alderman Montgomery.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you to Barry for the report. I really do appreciate it that you have put on about support for childminders. As we know, the childcare strategy is for early years, but it does lack support for childminders. We know that a lot's leaving the sector, and having spoken to a number of them, if this is implemented, then there will be more leaving the sector. At the moment, they are absorbing a lot of the fees, and with this strategy, they feel that there'll be a lot of pressure for them, and most of them are actually taking on second jobs at the moment. So the increase or the having to keep fees at a minimum for parents would not benefit childminders to keep going and the capacity that they are. But just happy enough to support this. Thank you.
Thank you. Janice, Councillor Duffy.
Thank you, Chair, and Barry, thank you. And I waited to Alderman Montgomery spoke because I was interested to hear what you had to say, but I'm happy to second the consultation response. We know the difficulties in terms of childcare that we're facing as a society. We know the spiralling cost of them and the impact that that's having on families who are already under pressure with the cost of living at the minute. So anything that can be done to assist in the childcare world is something that we need to be supporting. And we need childcare providers and childminders to be in that space as well, and making sure that they can earn a wage that is adequate for them to live as well. So I'm happy to support the consultation response.
Thank you, Sandra. Councillor McDade.
Thank you, Chair, and thanks, Barry. I suppose just similar to what the previous speakers have said, we're happy to support the response and the recommendations in the paper. And I suppose childcare is so expensive for the childcare provider and for the parents paying it. And I suppose I only know it from a parent perspective, but I have 3 wee boys, and now thankfully they're not all in childcare anymore. 2 of them aren't. They're at school, so it's kind of part-time. During the summer, our childcare bill, after you get the kind of 20% tax relief or whatever it's called, is still nearly £1,500 a month. Do you know, and that's for a lot of people is a full wage. Do you know, so and that's at a kind of cheaper rate because there's 3 of them going on, so you're kind of giving a discount and all the rest of it. So if you're paying that all year round, for example, doesn't really serve you to go out to work. So I think there's lots of work needs to be done to make it affordable for the parents, but it can't be put on the childminder to provide that support. And I think it needs to come from the government. So I think you're right. If there's going to be support put on, it needs to be put on at the providers so they don't have to put their costs up for the parents, because it's unsustainable for parents to be paying that sort of money as well. So thank you.
Thank you, Catherine. So members, agenda item 14, CCTV, a request to carry forward funding to 26-27, and that's by.
Members are seeking your approval to carry 5,000 of council monies forward for CCTV in the new financial year after we receive some money from PHA. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Barry. Do we need a proposer? Catherine?
Thank you. Good news for giving us some money, and happy to propose that paper.
Thank you. So item agenda 15, the event and services contract extension, and that's Barry again.
Members, just to advise you the proposal to extend our current vending services contract for snacks and drinks for a period of up to 12 months to allow sufficient time for the development of and adoption of an ethical procurement policy and facilitate the implementation of Phase 2 Food Standards Agency vending recommendations. Thank you.
Thank you,
Sam.
Barry. Just welcome and propose it. Good to see that the ethical procurement policy is moving forward as well.
Councillor McDade?
Thanks, Chair, and thanks, Barry, for the paper. And I suppose just for a wee bit of background, there was a lot of work done around this in the BDS working group and a lot of conversations around what happens, because this procurement piece could have went out to longer. So the best case scenario was for it to be extended for a month, or for a year, sorry, rather than it going back out and being another 5-year contract. So just so that people are aware, there was a lot of work done on this to make the best case scenario so that the ethical procurement policy could be developed and no kind of queries on it then. So thank you very much for the work.
Thank you very much, and it is great to see it. I suppose council could be the model of good practice when it comes to ethical procurement, and I think that that has seeped out into the broader society, because the community and voluntary sector are now doing audits in relation to the products they use, what they stock in their centres, and equipment that they're using as well. So I suppose council will lead the way in this, and it's great to see it coming. So thank you for that, Barry. And agenda item 16 is the request for representation from Derry City and Strabane District Council at the World Health Organization annual business meeting in June 2026, and that's Barry.
Members, just to seek your a nomination from members of a speaker to present at the World Health Organization annual business meeting. Following on from the council already being awarded with the UNICEF UK Child Friendly Cities and Communities, which WHO highlighted, the European Healthy Cities Secretariat invited DHC and council to consider nominating a representative to speak and present at a plenary on playgrounds to care hubs. In terms of the plenary, it's scheduled to be held on Wednesday, the 17th of June, and aims to explore how cities can design intergenerational spaces and care systems that strengthen mental health, prevent violence, and ensure people of all ages feel safe, included, and able to thrive. So, a recommendation that members nominate a great speaker to present at the event in Portugal in June 26.
Councillor Duffy?
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Barry. And Chair, you might want to come in after me because I know that you attended this event last year, and you have talked about how valuable it was to yourself and to everybody that attended last year. So I see the value in it. I think that this is a really good opportunity for us as a council to support developing healthy communities, nearly call them their old name, going forward, and to be represented at the highest level. I think that that would be really important. I don't know what their budget is, but I would wonder if we could cheekily ask if there would be an opportunity to send 2 people. Because I think, Karen, you as the Director of Health and Communities would be a really sound message going out there that we are committed to this and moving forward. You're the head of the department, and I think that would be really welcome. But I also would like to see if Claire McGuire, our Child's Rights Officer, would be available to go. So I think that's a cheeky proposal I'm making. But if you don't ask, you don't get.
Yeah, so could I just second that with what Sandra's saying? So as Sandra rightly said, I was there last year in my work capacity with Dale. And I suppose we were the only two people from Derry, and there was no representation from our council. And I'm not laying blame on anybody for that, but I think for me coming back in my work capacity, I sort of saw the gaps there in relation to our council team having a presence, because we should be shouting from the rooftops the brilliant work that we're doing in relation to health and wellbeing within this committee and within council as a whole, particularly focusing on the badge that we've received from UNICEF. When you're there, there's plenaries, there's abstracts, there's a lot of networking that goes on. So I would second what Sandra's saying. I did speak briefly to Edel. She does have a small budget as well, but obviously Edel's going from the organisation's point of view, and she tries to bring somebody from the community and voluntary sector as well in relation to what the need is within the community and what the World Health Organisation are focusing on. So I think it's about liaising with Edel and seeing how far the money could stretch, but I definitely agree with Sandra. When you look at the question the Councillor Clark had asked earlier about SCAG, we are champion health in all policies. This all came from last year's World Health Organisation, and you look at the work that this is going to do through the steering group in SCAG. So all those ideas, all that shared learning is what's going to sort of heighten what we're doing here at the minute. So it is, maybe it's about bringing a paper back and looking at seeing how two can go. If not, because Karen Phillips is involved as well within the health and all policies, and that's looking at the whole planning and our outdoor spaces and place-based approaches and stuff like that. So go ahead, Barry.
Thanks, Chair. If members are content, if DHC do have a limited budget, we look at budgets, and if members are content with that and they're content that we have two representatives, we'll make sure we get that addressed.
Oh, that's great. Thank you very much. Sandra, did you want to come back on?
No, I was going to suggest what Barry just suggested, so we're content.
Thank you very much. Right, so we are on to agenda item 17, and that's Ending Violence Against Women and Girls Change Fund 26 to 28, and it's the reallocation of Change Fund Tier 3 25-26, and that's Barry again.
And members, without going over the title of it, in terms of the recommendations, approval sought to reprofile the 25,000 originally allocated to CRJ as part of the 25-26 local change fund and reallocate to Foyle's Women Aid £8,334, Foyle Women's Information Network the same, and our streets the same amount. Thank you, Chair.
Councillor Devine.
Chair, thank you. Happy to propose that. I think we've had the conversation earlier in our meeting today, and we have to do everything that we possibly can to drive genuine culture change and to change attitudes and behaviours around violence against women and girls. And we have to use this funding to make the most impact that it possibly can. I would just like to ask, and I'm sure they have a plan in place, that we could, if we could go back to them to ensure that it reaches beyond the city. I think rural women face really unique and compounding barriers: geographical isolation, less public transport, there's fewer local services. And the reality is that in those small, tight-knit communities, asking for help might feel impossible where everybody knows somebody else. And I think postcodes or rurality should not determine whether women feel safe or not. So I'm happy to propose, but I would really like to feedback that if they can do anything at all to extend that out into rural areas. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Devine. Alderman Cook online.
Thanks, Chair, and I'm very happy to support the reprofile of the funding, the Foyle Women's Aid, Foyle Women's Information Network and our streets. I think the money would be extremely beneficial to the three organisations, and it'll allow them to continue the fantastic work that they're already carrying out in supporting women, girls and our wider communities. I just wanted to go back over and echo what our Chair, Councillor Hutton, had mentioned regarding the conference held by Foyle Women's Information Network in the Guildhall last Friday. The event was successful. I felt that it highlighted the importance of ending violence against women and girls, and hearing speakers, share their lived experiences always really hits home with me. And a special shout out to Councillor Leonard for taking the brave step of sharing his own story about his sister as well. There was 211 people in attendance, and I really, really hope that everyone took something away from that. And I know personally I learned a great deal. So yeah, supporting these organisations through this funding ensures that they can continue the vital work in our city and our district. So thanks.
Thank you, Alderman Cook. So members, we're moving on to open for information, and I'll just list them, and hopefully I see a hand going up or a chair on the screen. So 18 licences issued under delegated authority. 19 NIEA Drinking Water Inspectorate Drinking Water Report for NI 2024. 20 Department for Communities consultation on amendments to the Landlord Registration Scheme. 21 Pricing Policy and Schedule of Charges update for leisure and sports services. 22 Endometriosis Awareness Month, March 2026. 23 Correspondence. 24 Consultations. 25 Child Rights. Thank you all. And can I have a proposer and seconder for to go into confidential, proposed by Alderman Montgomery, seconded by Councillor Clark? Colette will wait in your wave.